Hi everyone! Today we are going to read through the story The Skeleton Key and go over the questions for today's reading assignment. Please follow along as we read. The Skeleton Key by Kelly Hashway. Eric rang his grandparents' doorbell and silently wished the next 4 hours would go by quickly. He didn't want to give up his entire Saturday afternoon at his grandparents' house where there were no kids in the neighborhood. You're right on time, Grandma Bethany said, opening the door. There's tea and cake in the dining room. Cake? At least the first 10 minutes would go by quickly. Eric hung his coat on the rack by the door and saw a strange looking key hanging on a hook. Grandpa Bill, what's this funny key for? That's a skeleton key. It opens the best room in this house, Grandpa Bill whispered so no one else could hear. It's the room I go to when your grandmother tries to make me help with the dishes. What's so special about the room? Eric asked. It's a game room, Grandpa Bill said. Take the key and see if you can find the room by the time I finish my tea. Eric grabbed the key and stared at it. A skeleton key? It looks old. Eric decided the oldest things in the house were probably upstairs in the walk up attic. He headed past the dining room and to the stairs. Grandpa Bill sipped his tea and shook his head. Eric knew that meant he was going the wrong way. He headed back to the front door where he'd found the key. Eric thought about the oldest part of the house. The basement! It's the first part that's built. He rushed to the basement door and looked at the lock. It was different from a normal lock. He slid the key inside and turned it. With a click, the door opened. Eric switched on the light and walked down the stairs. The basement was one giant room with a pool table in the middle and a dartboard on the far wall. Awesome, Eric said. Ever learn to play pool? Grandpa Bill asked, coming down the stairs. No, Eric said. Well, then grab a cue from the rack and I'll teach you. Eric smiled. The next 4 hours were going to fly by. Okay, that was The Skeleton Key by Kelly Hashway. All right, we are going to start by reading through the questions and talking about some strategies to figure out the answers. So question 1 says, what is the setting of this story? This includes a definition, tell where and when the story takes place. So we would go back through the story and we're going to look for details of where it takes place. So just kind of start at the beginning and go through all of the places when it takes place and where it takes place as best you can. For number 2, why didn't Eric want to visit his grandparents' house at the beginning of the story? I'm going to look for keywords. So first of all, this question says at the beginning of the story. So I know I'm going to start right at the beginning. Then the second clue that this question gives me is keywords. So I'm going to look and I'm going to say, what is the question asking me? What are the most important words? So my important keywords that I see here are Eric didn't want to in grandparents' house. So we need to figure out why Eric didn't want to visit his grandparents' house. So I'm going to read the beginning of the story and see why he didn't want to. So I'm looking for keywords like Eric, grandparents' house, and want. So I see one of my keywords right there, want. So hopefully I can use that to help me answer the rest of the question. Then for number 3, it gives us some choices. Grandpa told Eric that the skeleton key opened. So I'm going to go back up to the beginning and look for the keyword skeleton key. And then I'm going to see if any of these words come up. So, I'm going to look and I'm going to find the word skeleton key. Okay, it says right here, that's a skeleton key. And I see that Grandpa Bill was whispering this to Eric. So this is where it tells me my answer. So I would go back down and see if this matches any of the choices provided in my answer to number 3. So, let's see. Okay, so that's what we would do to solve our problems and our questions is we would use keywords and look back in the reading, and we also read through the story together. Please let your teacher know if you have any questions with completing this assignment, and thank you for listening.